2,000 years ago, Marcus Aurelius faced the weight of an empire, yet his words still echo today. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Imagine carrying the burden of leading Rome and still finding the clarity to write one of the most enduring philosophies on resilience. Now, think about your own life, the challenges, the chaos, the uncertainties. How can ancient wisdom, forged in a world so different from ours, help us navigate the struggles of modern life? The answer lies in Stoicism, a philosophy not of escape, but of understanding and action. Today, we're diving into 50 Stoic Habits, timeless tools that can empower you to face life's biggest challenges with calm, focus, and purpose. These aren't just abstract ideas, they're practical strategies you can start using today. So, if you've ever felt overwhelmed by the chaos of life, stick around. This is your invitation to discover how the wisdom of the Stoics can transform the way you approach every challenge. How do you prepare your mind for the day ahead? For the Stoics, this wasn't just a passing thought, it was a deliberate practice. Morning reflection was their way of setting intentions, grounding themselves, and building mental clarity before the day's challenges arose. Think of it as a mental warm-up, a way to align your thoughts with your values and priorities. Marcus Aurelius, in his timeless work Meditations, often began his days with this kind of introspection. He wrote not just to document his thoughts, but to remind himself of the virtues he wanted to embody: patience, resilience, and focus. Imagine waking up and taking just 10 minutes to ask yourself, what would a good day look like? This simple question can shift your entire mindset. Maybe a good day means staying calm during a stressful meeting, or perhaps it's about finding small moments of gratitude amidst the chaos. Morning reflection helps you anticipate potential obstacles and mentally prepare for them, so you're not caught off guard. It's like equipping yourself with a mental toolkit before stepping into the arena of daily life. For example, let's say you're dreading a difficult conversation at work. Instead of letting anxiety build up, use your morning reflection to visualize how you'd handle it with composure and kindness. By setting this intention early, you're more likely to approach the situation with clarity rather than reacting impulsively. The Stoics believed that the way you start your day shapes the way you navigate it. By adopting this habit, you're not just reacting to life, you're actively shaping it. So, tomorrow morning, before the world pulls you in a dozen directions, take a moment to reflect. Ask yourself what kind of day you want to create, and let that guide your actions. What if you imagined losing what you value most? It's a difficult thought, but this is the essence of negative visualization, a powerful Stoic practice that can transform how you approach life's uncertainties. The idea is to deliberately contemplate the possibility of losing things you cherish, whether it's a job, a relationship, or even your health. By doing this, you're not inviting negative outcomes. Instead, you're training your mind to face adversity with resilience and, perhaps more importantly, cultivating a deeper sense of gratitude for what you already have. The ancient Stoic philosopher Seneca often wrote about this practice. He suggested that by regularly imagining the loss of what we hold dear, we can reduce the fear of losing it and sharpen our appreciation for its presence in our lives. For example, he would advise his readers to think about how life would change if they lost their wealth, their loved ones, or even their own abilities. This mental exercise, he believed, could help us detach from the illusion of permanence and prepare us for whatever challenges might come our way. Let's bring this into a modern context. Imagine you're in a job you've worked hard to secure, but deep down you're worried about its future. Instead of letting that anxiety consume you, take a moment to visualize what you would do if you suddenly lost that position. How would you adapt? What steps would you take to move forward? By mentally preparing for this possibility, you not only reduce the fear of it but also create a plan of action that can make you feel more in control. The same applies to relationships. Thinking about the impermanence of connections can make you cherish the moments you have with loved ones even more. So here's a question to reflect on. What are you taking for granted today? Is it your health, your career, or the people in your life? Negative visualization isn't about dwelling on the negative. It's about creating a mindset that appreciates the present while being ready for the future. The next time you find yourself caught up in worries or frustrations, try this practice. You might just find that it reshapes your perspective in unexpected and powerful ways. Epictetus once said, "Some things are within our power while others are not." This simple yet profound idea lies at the heart of Stoic philosophy and offers a powerful way to navigate life's uncertainties. By focusing on what we can control, our thoughts, actions, and responses, we free ourselves from the weight of what's beyond our influence. This habit isn't just about letting go, it's about reclaiming your power in the face of chaos. Think about it. When you stop worrying about external outcomes and start investing in your own efforts, you're no longer at the mercy of circumstances. You become the driver of your life, not just a passenger. Take workplace stress, for example. You might not control deadlines, your boss's expectations, or market demands, but you can control how you prepare, how you communicate, and how you manage your time. By shifting your focus to these actionable steps, you're not just reducing anxiety, you're building resilience. The same applies to personal goals, whether it's improving your health, learning a new skill, or strengthening relationships. Progress happens when you pour your energy into what's within your reach, rather than agonizing over what isn't. Consider the story of a young entrepreneur who faced repeated rejections while building her business. Instead of giving up or blaming the market, she chose to focus on what she could control, refining her product, networking with potential clients, and learning from feedback. Her persistence paid off, not because the world suddenly became easier, but because she channeled her effort into areas where she could make a difference. This is the essence of Stoic empowerment, taking ownership of your choices even when the outcome is uncertain. So, here's a question to reflect on. What's one thing you can control right now? Maybe it's your attitude toward a difficult situation, the effort you put into a project, or even the way you treat someone in your life. The power to act, to respond, and to grow is always within you. By practicing this Stoic habit, you're not just overcoming challenges, you're building a mindset that thrives in the face of them. When was the last time you stepped out of your comfort zone? It's easy to stay where it's safe, where everything feels predictable. But growth doesn't happen in the comfort zone. Stoicism teaches us to embrace voluntary discomfort, not because we enjoy suffering, but because it's a powerful way to build resilience and strength. Think of it like training a muscle. The more you challenge it, the stronger it becomes. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus put it simply, difficulties show what men are. In other words, it's through facing challenges that we discover our true capabilities. Voluntary discomfort might sound counterintuitive, but it's a practice that has stood the test of time. Ancient Stoics would deliberately expose themselves to hardships, sleeping on the floor, fasting, or enduring cold. Not to punish themselves, but to remind themselves that they could survive and thrive without relying on luxuries. These small acts of discomfort were a way to prepare for life's inevitable hardships. In modern times, this could mean taking cold showers, waking up earlier than usual, or even fasting for a day. These practices train your mind to stay calm and focused, even when things feel uncomfortable. Why does this work? Because fear often comes from the unknown. When you willingly step into discomfort, you take away its power over you. You learn that you can handle more than you thought, and that confidence spills over into other areas of your life. It's not about seeking pain for its own sake, but about building the mental toughness to face whatever life throws your way. So ask yourself, what discomfort can I willingly embrace today? Maybe it's something small, like skipping your morning coffee or taking a different route to work. Or perhaps it's something bigger, like starting a project that scares you. Whatever it is, remember that each step out of your comfort zone is a step toward a stronger, more resilient you. Seneca, one of Stoicism's greatest teachers, often stressed the importance of reflecting on each day before sleep. He believed that taking time to examine our actions, decisions, and emotions was essential for growth. This practice of daily journaling isn't just a historical habit, it's a timeless tool for anyone navigating life's challenges. By writing down your thoughts, you create space to process what happened, understand your reactions, and gain clarity on what truly matters. Think of journaling as a conversation with yourself. It's a way to untangle the chaos of the day, whether you're dealing with stress, disappointment, or even moments of joy. Modern practices like morning pages or gratitude journals echo this Stoic tradition, offering structured ways to reflect and find meaning. Morning pages, for instance, encourage you to write freely as soon as you wake up, clearing your mind and setting a purposeful tone for the day. Gratitude journals, on the other hand, help you focus on the positives, cultivating a mindset of appreciation even in difficult times. Here's a practical way to start. At the end of your day, ask yourself, what did today teach me? Maybe it revealed a pattern in how you handle criticism, or perhaps it showed you a moment of resilience you didn't know you had. Writing about these experiences helps you see them more objectively, like stepping back from a painting to see the whole picture. It's especially powerful during tough times when emotions can cloud your judgment. Journaling gives you a way to step through the fog and find a clearer path forward. This habit isn't about writing perfectly, it's about being honest with yourself. You don't need to fill pages, even a few sentences can make a difference. Over time, your journal becomes a record of your progress, showing how you've grown and what lessons you've learned along the way. So tonight, before you sleep, grab a notebook or open an app and take a few moments to reflect. What did today teach you? The answer might surprise you. There is nothing to lose and everything to gain by loving one's fate. Nietzsche once wrote, echoing a core Stoic principle. This idea, known as Amor Fati, or the love of fate, invites us to fully embrace every moment of our lives, not just the triumphs, but also the struggles, the setbacks, and the unexpected turns. It's about seeing life as it is without resistance and finding value in every experience, no matter how difficult. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, often reflected on this concept in his personal writings. He reminded himself, what stands in the way becomes the way. This simple yet profound statement captures the essence of Amor Fati. Instead of resisting obstacles, we can learn to see them as opportunities for growth, as challenges that shape us into stronger, wiser versions of ourselves. Consider the story of a young entrepreneur whose business failed during a global economic downturn. Instead of succumbing to despair, they chose to see this failure as a chance to reevaluate their path. They used the experience to learn new skills, pivot their career, and eventually build a more resilient and successful venture. This mindset shift didn't erase the pain of failure, but it transformed it into a stepping stone toward something greater. So, how can you begin to practice Amor Fati in your own life? Start by asking yourself, how can I embrace my current circumstances even if they're not what I envisioned? This isn't about pretending everything is perfect or ignoring the discomfort. It's about recognizing that every moment, even the difficult ones, has something to teach us. When we stop fighting against reality and start working with it, we unlock a sense of peace and purpose that can carry us through life's challenges. Amor Fati isn't just a philosophy, it's a practical tool for living with resilience and grace. What are you truly grateful for in your life? This simple question holds the power to transform how you see the world. Gratitude, a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy, isn't just about saying thank you, it's a mindset that helps us find contentment even in the midst of challenges. The Stoics believed that by focusing on what we have rather than what we lack, we can cultivate a sense of abundance and peace, no matter our circumstances. Seneca, one of the great Stoic thinkers, often wrote about the importance of gratitude in his letters. He reminded us that even in difficult times, there is always something to be thankful for. The act of acknowledging these blessings helps us reframe our perspective, shifting from a mindset of scarcity to one of fulfillment. One practical way to practice this is by keeping a gratitude journal. Each day, take a moment to write down 3 things you're grateful for. They don't have to be grand or extraordinary. It could be something as simple as a kind word from a friend, a beautiful sunrise, or even the comfort of a warm meal. Over time, this habit trains your mind to seek out the good in your life, even when things feel overwhelming. It's a reminder that abundance isn't about having everything. It's about recognizing the value in what you already possess. So take a moment to reflect. Who or what are you thankful for today? Maybe it's a person who has supported you, a skill you've worked hard to develop, or even the opportunity to learn and grow from the challenges you face. Gratitude isn't just a feeling, it's a practice, one that can help you navigate life with greater resilience and joy. Start small, and you might be surprised at how this simple habit can reshape your outlook. Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Those words cut to the heart of a profound Stoic habit, separating perception from reality. Most of the time, our emotional reactions don't come from the event itself, but from how we interpret it. Think about it. When something happens, we don't experience the raw event. Instead, we experience our interpretation of it, which is often shaped by biases, fears, or assumptions. This is where the Stoic practice of discernment comes in. By learning to question our interpretations, we can prevent unnecessary suffering and respond with clarity rather than emotion. Take a moment to consider a modern example. Imagine you're having a conversation with a colleague and they seem distant or short with you. Your first thought might be, "They're upset with me." But is that the truth, or is it just your perception? Maybe they're preoccupied with a personal issue, or perhaps they're just having a rough day. When we stop and ask, "Is this thought true or just my perception?" we create space to see the situation more objectively. This simple question can diffuse the emotional charge and open the door to empathy or understanding. This habit isn't just about avoiding overreactions, it's about reclaiming control over your inner world. When you catch yourself spiraling into negativity, pause and examine the thought. Ask yourself, what evidence do I have for this? Is there another way to look at it? This practice of reframing doesn't deny the reality of the situation. It simply helps you see it more clearly. Over time, it becomes a powerful tool for reducing stress, improving relationships, and cultivating a calmer, more centered mindset. Next time you find yourself reacting strongly to something, take a step back. Is it the situation that's causing your distress, or is it the story you're telling yourself about it? The present moment is all you ever have. Make it enough. These words, often attributed to Eckhart Tolle, capture the essence of mindfulness, a practice that aligns beautifully with Stoic philosophy. At its core, Stoicism teaches us to focus on what is within our control, and the present moment is the only thing that truly fits that criterion. Mindfulness, then, becomes a powerful tool for living a Stoic life. It's not about escaping reality or chasing distractions. It's about fully inhabiting the here and now, no matter what it brings. Marcus Aurelius, one of Stoicism's most famous practitioners, wrote extensively about the importance of presence. In his meditations, he reminds himself, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. This isn't a morbid thought, it's a call to action. By recognizing the fleeting nature of time, we're encouraged to live more deliberately. Mindfulness helps us do just that. It's the practice of anchoring ourselves in the present, free from the regrets of the past or anxieties about the future. Think about something as simple as eating a meal. How often do we rush through it, barely tasting the food, while our minds wander to the next task or the latest worry? Mindfulness invites us to slow down. Notice the texture of the bread, the aroma of the soup, the way the flavors unfold on your tongue. This isn't just about enjoying your meal more. It's about training your mind to focus on what's happening right now rather than being swept away by distractions. Walking offers another opportunity for mindfulness. Instead of plugging into headphones or scrolling through your phone, try paying attention to the rhythm of your steps, the feeling of the ground beneath your feet, the sounds and sights around you. These small acts of presence can have a profound impact on your mental clarity and emotional resilience. So here's a question to ponder: how can you be more present today? It doesn't have to be a grand gesture. Start small. Maybe it's taking a few deep breaths before a meeting or pausing to really listen during a conversation. Mindfulness isn't about perfection, it's about practice. And with each moment of presence, you're building a stronger, more grounded version of yourself, one that's better equipped to navigate life's challenges with stoic calm and clarity. How often do you catch yourself complaining about things you can't change? It's a habit most of us fall into, whether it's about the weather, traffic, or the way someone else behaves. But here's the thing: Stoicism teaches us that complaining doesn't just waste our energy, it distracts us from what truly matters. Imagine how much more productive and peaceful your day could be if you channeled that energy into finding solutions instead. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, put it simply: it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. When we complain, we're essentially saying, this shouldn't be happening, even when it already has. Stoicism invites us to shift that mindset. Instead of resisting the uncontrollable, we practice acceptance. This doesn't mean we stop caring or trying to improve things. It means we stop letting frustration control us. Think about a time you were stuck in a long line at the store. Complaining about it doesn't make the line move faster, but accepting the situation allows you to use that time differently. Maybe you take a moment to breathe, plan your evening, or even strike up a conversation with someone nearby. The situation hasn't changed, but your response to it has. Here's a practical question to ask yourself the next time you feel the urge to complain. What can I do instead of complaining about this? Maybe it's taking action to solve the problem, or maybe it's simply choosing to let go and focus on something more positive. This small shift can transform not just your day, but your entire outlook. By limiting complaints, you reclaim your energy and focus. You become more resilient, more adaptable, and ultimately more at peace with the world as it is. The Stoics knew this was a path to greater freedom, and it's one we can all start walking today. Seneca once wrote, "If one does not know to which port one is sailing, no wind is favorable." This simple yet profound statement reminds us that purpose is the compass guiding our actions. In Stoicism, setting intentional goals isn't about chasing success for its own sake. It's about aligning your efforts with what truly matters to you. It's about living in accordance with your values, not society's expectations or fleeting desires. When your goals are rooted in meaning, every step you take becomes a reflection of who you are and who you aspire to be. Think about it. How often do we set goals based on what we think we should do, rather than what genuinely resonates with us? The Stoic approach flips this script. Instead of external validation, it encourages you to ask, what will bring me closer to my best self? Take Marcus Aurelius, for example. As a Roman emperor, he could have pursued power and luxury, but he chose to focus on wisdom, justice, and self-discipline. His goals were deeply aligned with his Stoic principles, and that's what allowed him to lead with integrity and purpose. Today, this same principle applies. Whether it's in your career, relationships, or personal growth, setting intentional goals means asking yourself, what truly matters to me, and letting that guide your decisions. It's not about perfection or rigid plans, it's about clarity and consistency. So, as you reflect on your own path, consider this. Are your current goals truly aligned with your values, or are they simply a reaction to the noise around you? The human soul is dyed by the color of its thoughts, wrote Marcus Aurelius. These words remind us that our perspective shapes not only how we see the world, but also how we connect with others. Empathy, a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy, isn't just about feeling for someone, it's about understanding their experience as if it were your own. It's a habit that invites us to step outside ourselves and see the world through another's eyes, fostering compassion and diffusing potential conflicts. Marcus Aurelius often emphasized this in his meditations, urging us to approach others with kindness and patience, even when their actions seem perplexing or frustrating. He wrote, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. They are like this because they cannot tell good from evil, but I have seen the beauty of good and the ugliness of evil, and have recognized that the wrongdoer has a nature related to my own." This perspective doesn't excuse hurtful behavior, but it helps us respond with clarity rather than resentment. Take this simple example. Imagine a coworker snaps at you during a stressful meeting. Your first instinct might be to react defensively, to match their tone, or even escalate the tension. But what if you paused and considered the possible reasons behind their outburst? Maybe they're overwhelmed, dealing with personal struggles, or feeling unheard. By choosing empathy, by asking, "How would I feel in their shoes?" you create space for understanding rather than conflict. This shift doesn't mean you tolerate mistreatment. It means you respond with intention rather than impulse. Empathy, in this way, becomes a tool for building bridges, not walls. So, how can you cultivate this habit in your daily life? Start by actively listening not just to the words someone says, but to the emotions behind them. Reflect on their perspective before reacting, and remember, empathy doesn't require you to agree with someone. It simply asks you to acknowledge their humanity. When we practice this consistently, we not only strengthen our relationships but also align ourselves with the Stoic ideal of living in harmony with others. Think of it as a daily exercise in expanding your emotional horizon, one interaction at a time. Seneca once wrote, "Life is long if you know how to use it." At first glance, this might seem like a paradox. After all, life is finite and time is fleeting. But what he's pointing to is the Stoic practice of accepting impermanence, a habit that can fundamentally transform how we experience the world. The Stoics believed that recognizing the temporary nature of everything, our lives, our circumstances, even our emotions, frees us from fear and allows us to live more fully. When we stop resisting the inevitable changes life brings, we can focus on what truly matters, the present moment. Modern life often amplifies our anxieties about change. We worry about losing jobs, relationships, or even our sense of security. But what if we could shift our perspective? What if, instead of fearing change, we saw it as an opportunity to grow? Think about a temporary challenge you faced, maybe a project at work, a move to a new city, or even a difficult conversation. Embracing that challenge not only builds resilience but also deepens our appreciation for the journey itself. The Stoics didn't just accept impermanence, they actively used it to cultivate gratitude. They reminded themselves daily that everything they cherished, their loved ones, their achievements, even their own lives, was fleeting. This wasn't meant to be morbid, it was a way to sharpen their focus on what truly mattered. Ask yourself, how can I cherish this moment? Whether it's a quiet morning, a conversation with a friend, or even a mundane task, there's beauty in recognizing that it won't last forever. By doing so, we can live with greater intention and less regret. This practice isn't about denying the pain of loss or change, it's about finding strength in the face of it. When we accept that nothing lasts forever, we can approach life with a sense of peace and clarity. It's a reminder to savor the present, not out of fear that it will end, but out of gratitude that it exists at all. Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This simple yet profound idea lies at the heart of Stoic resilience, a quality that transforms adversity into opportunity. Resilience isn't about avoiding hardship, it's about embracing it as a teacher. It's the ability to stand firm when life knocks you down, to learn from failure, and to emerge stronger. In a world full of unpredictability, resilience isn't just a skill, it's a lifeline. Take career setbacks, for example. Losing a job or facing rejection can feel devastating, but Stoicism teaches us to see these moments as chances to reassess and grow. Instead of dwelling on what went wrong, focus on what you can control: your effort, your attitude, your next move. Think of someone like Steve Jobs, who was famously ousted from Apple, the company he co-founded. Instead of letting failure define him, he used it as fuel to create NXT and Pixar, eventually returning to Apple stronger than ever. His story reminds us that setbacks aren't the end, they're often the beginning of something greater. Building resilience starts with perspective. When faced with a challenge, ask yourself, how can I grow stronger from this? This shift in mindset helps you see obstacles not as roadblocks but as stepping stones. It's about training yourself to respond with calm determination rather than frustration or despair. Over time, this practice strengthens your inner resolve, making you more adaptable and unshakable in the face of life's ups and downs. Resilience also thrives on preparation. Stoics often practiced premeditatio malorum, or the premeditation of evils, where they mentally prepared for potential hardships. This isn't about pessimism, it's about equipping yourself to handle whatever comes your way. By visualizing challenges and planning your response, you build a mental toolkit that makes you more resilient when those challenges arise. So when life throws you a curveball, remember that resilience is your greatest ally. It's not about avoiding pain, but about transforming it into power. How can you start building this habit today? Reflect on your own experiences, what challenges have shaped you, and how can you use them to grow even stronger? Resilience isn't just about surviving, it's about thriving no matter what life brings your way. Control your desires and you'll master your life. These words, attributed to the Stoic philosopher Epictetus, capture the essence of self-discipline as a cornerstone of Stoic practice. At first glance, self-discipline might sound restrictive, even oppressive, but in truth, it's one of the most liberating habits you can cultivate. By learning to govern your impulses and desires, you reclaim power over your actions and, in turn, your life. Epictetus famously said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Think about that for a moment. Freedom isn't just about external circumstances, it's about internal control. When you're disciplined, you're no longer a slave to distractions, procrastination, or fleeting temptations. Instead, you become the architect of your own achievements. Let's take a practical example. Imagine you've been putting off a project, a task you know is important but keeps getting pushed aside. Procrastination, in this case, isn't just laziness, it's a lack of self-discipline. The Stoics would advise you to confront this head-on. Start small. Commit to working on that project for just 10 minutes. Often, that initial step is all it takes to break the cycle of avoidance. Over time, these small acts of discipline compound, leading to significant progress and a sense of accomplishment. So here's a question to reflect on. What's one thing you can discipline yourself to do today? It doesn't have to be monumental. It could be as simple as waking up 10 minutes earlier, resisting the urge to scroll through social media, or finishing a task you've been avoiding. Remember, self-discipline isn't about perfection, it's about consistency. Each time you choose to act with discipline, you're strengthening your ability to shape your own destiny. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." This simple yet profound idea is at the heart of the Stoic habit of detaching from outcomes. It's about shifting your focus from what you can't control, like results or other people's opinions, to what you can control: your effort, your mindset, and your actions. When you stop fixating on the end goal and instead pour your energy into the process, something remarkable happens. Anxiety lessens and peace begins to take its place. Think about the pressure many of us feel today, whether it's in our careers, relationships, or personal goals. We're constantly told to measure our worth by outcomes. Did I get the promotion? Did I hit the target? Did I succeed? But Stoicism invites us to ask a different question. What can I control in this situation? The answer is almost always found in the present moment, in the effort you're putting in right now. Take the example of a musician practicing for a big performance. If they're solely focused on how the audience will react or whether they'll win a competition, their practice sessions can become riddled with stress and self-doubt. But if they choose to detach from the outcome and instead immerse themselves in the joy of playing, they not only perform better but also find fulfillment in the act itself. The process becomes its own reward. This principle isn't just for musicians or athletes, it's for anyone facing performance pressures in their daily life. Maybe you're working on a project at work, or perhaps you're trying to improve a skill. By focusing on what you can control, your preparation, your dedication, your attitude, you free yourself from the weight of expectations. The result, you're not only more effective but also more at ease. It's a reminder that life isn't just about the destination, it's about finding meaning and joy in the journey. So, the next time you feel the pressure to achieve a certain outcome, pause and ask yourself, what can I control right now? The only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing. This timeless quote by Socrates captures the essence of the Stoic mindset, that wisdom is not a destination but a lifelong journey. The Stoics believed that the pursuit of knowledge was essential to living a fulfilling and resilient life. It wasn't just about acquiring facts, but about cultivating a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. Take Seneca, for example, whose letters often emphasized the importance of constant learning. He saw education not as something to be completed, but as a daily practice that sharpens the mind and fortifies the soul. Consider the story of Marcus Aurelius, one of history's most renowned Stoics. Despite being a Roman emperor with immense power, he dedicated himself to learning every single day. His journals, now known as meditations, are filled with reflections on philosophy, virtue, and self-improvement. He didn't rest on his laurels or assume he had all the answers. Instead, he approached life with humility, always seeking to grow, adapt, and understand. This commitment to learning didn't just make him a better leader, it helped him navigate the challenges of his time with grace and resilience. The beauty of this habit is that it's accessible to everyone. You don't need to be an emperor or a philosopher to seek wisdom daily. It could be as simple as reading a book, listening to a podcast, or engaging in a meaningful conversation. Each time you learn something new, you expand your perspective, deepen your empathy, and strengthen your ability to face life's uncertainties. Think about it. What new thing can you learn today? It doesn't have to be grand or life-altering. Even small acts of curiosity can set you on a path toward greater understanding and resilience. Stoicism teaches us that growth is a continuous process, one that requires effort, curiosity, and an open mind. By embracing the habit of seeking wisdom daily, you're not just enriching your mind, you're building a foundation that will help you thrive, no matter what challenges come your way. So, what's one thing you're curious about right now? How can you take the first step toward learning it today? Patience, often overlooked, is one of the most powerful Stoic habits for cultivating inner calm. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, taught that enduring delays and setbacks with grace is not just about waiting, it's about maintaining control over your reactions. He reminded us that external events are beyond our control, but how we respond to them is entirely within our power. This perspective shifts patience from a passive act to an active exercise in self-mastery. Think about it, when we're stuck in traffic, waiting for a delayed flight, or dealing with a slow internet connection, our frustration often comes from expecting things to unfold on our timeline. But what if we saw these moments as opportunities to practice patience instead? Patience doesn't just reduce frustration, it fosters understanding. When we pause and give situations time to develop, we often see nuances we might have missed in a rush. For instance, consider someone who's quick to judge a colleague's mistake. By practicing patience, they might recognize that the error stemmed from stress or lack of guidance, leading to empathy rather than anger. In a world where technology has conditioned us to expect instant results, instant messages, instant deliveries, instant answers, patience becomes a counterbalance, reminding us that not everything can or should be rushed. Take the example of James, a software developer who felt stuck in his career. Instead of jumping to the first job offer he received, he decided to wait, even though it was uncomfortable. Over those months, he gained clarity about what he truly wanted, a role that aligned with his values and allowed for growth. His patience paid off when he found a position that was a perfect fit, something he might have missed if he'd rushed the process. This illustrates the Stoic idea that waiting isn't passive, it's an active process of allowing space for better outcomes to emerge. So, the next time you feel the urge to rush or react, pause and ask yourself, what can I gain by waiting? Could this delay be a chance to practice patience and, in doing so, cultivate a deeper sense of calm and understanding? By embracing this Stoic habit, you're not just enduring life's delays, you're transforming them into moments of growth. Imagine a life where every decision feels lighter, where your mind isn't weighed down by endless choices or clutter. This is the power of simplicity, a core Stoic habit that Seneca championed when he warned against the dangers of excess. He believed that an overload of possessions, commitments, and distractions only serves to obscure what truly matters, leaving us stressed and unfocused. Seneca's advice wasn't just about decluttering your home, it was about clearing your mind and soul to create space for what's essential. In today's fast-paced world, simplicity might feel like an impossible goal. We're bombarded with information, obligations, and material things that demand our attention. But the Stoics remind us that stress often stems from this very overwhelm. When we simplify, we strip away the unnecessary, creating room for clarity and focus. Think about it, how much of what you own or do actually adds value to your life? How much of it just fills space or time without meaning? Consider the story of someone who embraced minimalism and found profound peace. They started by letting go of physical clutter, old clothes, unused gadgets, even furniture that no longer served a purpose. But the transformation went deeper. As they pared down their possessions, they realized how much mental energy had been tied to those things. The constant need to organize, maintain, or even just think about them was draining. By simplifying, they gained not just physical space but mental freedom, rediscovering what truly mattered to them. What about you? What can you let go of today? It doesn't have to be something physical. Maybe it's a toxic relationship, a habit that no longer serves you, or even an unrealistic expectation you've placed on yourself. Simplifying your life isn't about deprivation, it's about liberation. It's about choosing to focus on what aligns with your values and letting the rest fall away. Take a moment to reflect, what's one thing, big or small, that you could release to create more clarity and calm in your life. The Stoic habit of simplicity is more than just a lifestyle choice, it's a mindset. It's the practice of saying no to excess so you can say yes to what truly matters. When you simplify, you create space for inner peace, for deeper connections, and for the things that bring you joy. Start small, and you might be surprised at how much lighter and more focused you feel. Amidst the chaos of life, balance is not found in avoiding the storm, but in standing steady within it. This timeless wisdom encapsulates the Stoic practice of equanimity, a habit of maintaining calm and composure, no matter the circumstances. The Stoics believed that while we can't always control what happens to us, we can control how we respond. This principle isn't about suppressing emotions, but about cultivating a steady inner foundation that allows us to navigate both the highs and lows with grace. Marcus Aurelius, one of history's most influential Stoic thinkers, often reflected on this in his meditations. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. For Aurelius, equanimity was a shield against the unpredictability of life. It's the ability to remain anchored even when external forces threaten to pull us into turmoil. Imagine facing a sudden crisis, a job loss, a health scare, or a personal betrayal. In those moments, it's not the event itself that defines us, but our response. Equanimity allows us to pause, assess, and act with clarity rather than react with panic. Consider this practical example. A Stoic teacher once faced a shipwreck, losing all his possessions. Instead of despairing, he calmly told his companions, "Fortune has taken what she gave, but I still have myself." This mindset isn't about indifference. It's about recognizing that our true strength lies in our ability to adapt and remain steady. So, here's a question to reflect on. How can you cultivate this same steadiness in your own life? What small steps can you take to build equanimity, even in the face of everyday challenges? Epictetus once said, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." This simple yet profound idea lies at the heart of humility, a Stoic habit that opens the door to growth, understanding, and connection. Humility isn't about diminishing yourself or your worth. It's about recognizing your limits and embracing the fact that there's always more to learn. In a world where ego often drives people to inflate their importance, humility becomes a quiet but powerful act of strength. It's the ability to say, "I don't have all the answers, and that's okay." Think about the last time you tried to prove yourself right in a conversation. Maybe you interrupted, dismissed someone's perspective, or clung tightly to your own viewpoint. Now imagine the opposite approach, listening intently, asking questions, and genuinely considering what the other person has to offer. That's humility in action. It's not about weakness, it's about creating space for growth and connection. By acknowledging that others have wisdom to share, you not only expand your own understanding but also build trust and respect. Consider the story of a leader who, instead of demanding obedience, chose to lead with humility. When faced with a problem, they admitted they didn't have all the solutions and invited their team to collaborate. The result, respect grew, innovation flourished, and the team felt valued. Humility didn't make this leader less capable, it made them more effective. It's a reminder that real strength often comes from vulnerability, from the willingness to say, "I don't know, but I'm willing to learn." In today's ego-driven world, where social media often encourages us to showcase only our best selves, humility can feel countercultural. Yet, it's exactly what we need to navigate life's challenges with grace. By practicing humility, we shift our focus from proving ourselves to improving ourselves. So take a moment to reflect. What can you learn from others today? Whether it's a colleague, a friend, or even someone you disagree with, there's always an opportunity to grow. Humility isn't just a Stoic habit, it's a pathway to deeper understanding and meaningful connection. Seneca once wrote, "If anyone tells you that a certain person speaks ill of you, do not make excuses about what is said, but answer, 'He was ignorant of my other faults, else he would not have mentioned these alone.'" This Stoic perspective on feedback isn't just about accepting criticism, about embracing it as a tool for growth. In a world where our egos often shield us from uncomfortable truths, Stoicism teaches us to see feedback not as an attack, but as an opportunity to refine ourselves. Think about it, feedback, even when it stings, is a mirror reflecting our blind spots. It's how we gain self-awareness and recognize areas where we can improve. In modern workplace dynamics, for example, constructive criticism can be the difference between stagnation and professional advancement. Take the story of a young executive who, after receiving feedback about her communication style, decided to actively listen rather than dominate conversations. Over time, her relationships with colleagues deepened and her leadership skills flourished. She didn't just hear the feedback, she used it to transform. So, how can you approach feedback with the same grace? Start by asking yourself, how can I use this to grow? Instead of reacting defensively, pause and reflect. What truth might this feedback hold? Even if it feels unfair, there's often a kernel of insight worth exploring. By adopting this mindset, you're not just surviving criticism, you're thriving because of it. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." This timeless wisdom lies at the heart of cultivating inner peace, a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy. Inner peace isn't about avoiding life's challenges. It's about developing the ability to remain steady and calm even when the world around you feels chaotic. Think of it as an anchor in a storm, holding firm despite the waves crashing around you. In today's fast-paced world, stress and anxiety often feel like constant companions. The Stoics understood that external chaos is inevitable, but how we respond to it is entirely within our control. By focusing on what we can influence, our thoughts, reactions, and attitudes, we reduce the impact of external turbulence on our inner world. For example, consider a busy professional juggling deadlines, family responsibilities, and daily pressures. Instead of being overwhelmed, they might pause, take a deep breath, and remind themselves that their peace of mind doesn't depend on external circumstances. This simple shift in perspective can transform stress into a manageable, even empowering experience. History offers countless examples of individuals who found calm amidst turmoil. Take Epictetus, a former slave who endured immense hardship yet taught the world about resilience and tranquility. Despite his external struggles, he chose to focus on his inner freedom, proving that peace is not reserved for those with perfect lives but for anyone willing to cultivate it. So, how can you create peace within yourself? Start by acknowledging that not everything is within your control, and that's okay. Focus on what you can change, whether it's your mindset, your habits, or your daily routines. Practice mindfulness, even if it's just a few moments of quiet reflection each day. Over time, these small steps can lead to a profound sense of serenity, helping you navigate life's challenges with grace and composure. To forgive is to set a prisoner free and discover that the prisoner was you. This powerful sentiment captures the essence of one of Stoicism's most transformative habits, forgiveness. At its core, forgiveness isn't about excusing someone else's behavior. It's about freeing yourself from the weight of resentment. When we hold on to anger or bitterness, we're the ones who suffer, carrying an emotional burden that drains our energy and clouds our judgment. Seneca, one of Stoicism's greatest thinkers, wrote extensively about the destructive nature of lingering anger. He believed that holding onto resentment was like drinking poison and expecting the other person to feel its effects. Instead, he urged his readers to cultivate forgiveness as a form of self-liberation. By letting go of grudges, you reclaim your peace of mind and take back control of your emotional well-being. Consider the story of a man who spent years harboring anger toward a colleague who betrayed him. That anger consumed him, affecting his relationships and his ability to focus on his goals. But when he finally chose to forgive, not for the colleague's sake but for his own, it was as if a weight had been lifted. He felt lighter, more present, and more capable of moving forward with clarity and purpose. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or condoning harmful actions. It's about choosing not to let those actions define your inner state. It's a decision to prioritize your own mental and emotional freedom over the temporary satisfaction of holding a grudge. So take a moment to reflect. Who can you forgive today? It might be someone else, or it might even be yourself. Either way, the act of forgiveness is a gift not to them but to you. It's a step toward a freer, more peaceful life, and that's the true power of this Stoic habit. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts, Marcus Aurelius once wrote. This simple yet profound idea reminds us that how we think and act shapes who we are. At the heart of Stoicism lies the principle of living virtuously, a life guided by integrity, wisdom, courage, and justice. Virtue isn't just a lofty ideal, it's the very foundation of Stoic habits, the compass that directs us through life's challenges. Epictetus, one of Stoicism's most influential teachers, often emphasized that our true power lies in our ability to choose how we act regardless of external circumstances. He taught that living ethically isn't about seeking approval or reward, but about aligning our actions with what is inherently right. When we act with virtue, we cultivate a sense of fulfillment that no external success can match. It's not about perfection but progress, choosing to do the right thing even when it's hard. Consider someone who discovers their purpose through acts of kindness. Imagine a person who volunteers at a shelter not for recognition but because it feels right to help others. Over time, this consistent practice of compassion transforms them. They find meaning not in what they gain but in what they give. This is the power of virtuous living. It creates a ripple effect, enriching both the giver and the receiver. So, how can you act with integrity today? It might be as simple as speaking truthfully in a difficult conversation, standing up for someone who's been wronged, or showing patience when frustration arises. Virtue isn't reserved for grand gestures. It's in the small, daily choices that define who we are. Each moment offers an opportunity to live in alignment with your highest values, to let your soul be dyed with the colors of integrity and purpose. One of the most liberating habits in Stoicism is letting go of the need to compare ourselves to others. Seneca, the great Roman philosopher, once warned that envy and jealousy are like poison to the soul. They drain our joy and keep us trapped in a cycle of dissatisfaction. When we constantly measure ourselves against others, we lose sight of our own path and potential. Instead of focusing on what we lack or where we fall short, Stoicism teaches us to turn inward and cultivate gratitude for what we already have. Think about how modern life amplifies this challenge. Social media, for instance, often presents a highlight reel of other people's lives, career milestones, vacations, relationships, and it's easy to feel like we're falling behind. But the truth is, these comparisons are meaningless. Everyone's journey is unique, and what works for one person might not align with your values or goals. Take the story of a young entrepreneur who once found herself caught in this trap. She constantly scrolled through LinkedIn, comparing her progress to her peers, and it left her feeling inadequate. But when she decided to stop measuring her success against others and instead focus on her own growth, something shifted. She began to see her achievements for what they were, small victories that added up over time. By letting go of comparisons, she found a sense of contentment and clarity that had eluded her for years. So, ask yourself, how can you shift your focus to your own journey? What would it feel like to let go of the need to measure yourself against others? Remember, the only person you're truly in competition with is the person you were yesterday. By embracing this Stoic habit, you free yourself from unnecessary stress and open the door to genuine progress. It's not always easy, but it's worth it, because when you stop comparing, you start living. Give what you have to someone, it may be better than you dare to think. These words from Henry Wadsworth Longfellow capture the essence of generosity, a practice that goes beyond mere acts of giving. In Stoicism, generosity isn't about grand gestures or expecting something in return. It's about cultivating a mindset of connection and purpose. Marcus Aurelius, one of Stoicism's most celebrated philosophers, wrote extensively about the importance of contributing to others. He believed that true fulfillment comes not from what we accumulate, but from what we offer to the world around us. Imagine this: you're walking through your neighborhood and notice someone struggling with their groceries. You step in to help, and in that moment, you're not just carrying bags, you're fostering a sense of community. Generosity, in its simplest form, breaks down barriers and reminds us of our shared humanity. It's not about the size of the act, but the intention behind it. Think about a time when someone's kindness, no matter how small, lifted your spirits. That's the ripple effect of generosity. It creates waves of positivity that extend far beyond the initial gesture. Take Marcus Aurelius's own life as an example. As a Roman emperor, he could have easily focused solely on his own comfort and power. Yet he chose to lead with compassion, dedicating his life to improving the lives of his people. His writings in Meditations reveal a deep commitment to service, reminding us that our lives gain meaning when we uplift others. Generosity, in this sense, becomes a way to align ourselves with the Stoic ideal of living in harmony with others. Here's a challenge for you today. Ask yourself, who can I help today? It doesn't have to be a monumental effort. Maybe it's offering a kind word to a colleague, lending a hand to a neighbor, or simply listening to someone who needs to be heard. Generosity is a habit, and like any habit, it grows stronger with practice. Each act of giving strengthens your connection to the world and reminds you of the profound truth that we are all in this together. So take that first step, give what you can, and watch how it transforms not just someone else's day, but your own sense of purpose. Epictetus, one of Stoicism's most influential teachers, once said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." But he also understood something crucial, that our efforts, no matter how determined, will always meet with imperfection. Human fallibility is not a flaw, it's a fundamental part of being human. Stoicism teaches us to acknowledge this truth, not as a weakness but as a starting point for growth. When we accept that we're bound to make mistakes, we free ourselves from the paralyzing grip of self-criticism. Instead of striving for an unattainable ideal, we focus on progress, not perfection. This principle is especially relevant in today's world, where perfectionism often feels like the norm. Social media, career pressures, and even personal relationships can make us feel like we're constantly falling short. But Stoicism reminds us that perfection is an illusion. By embracing our imperfections, we shift our energy from self-judgment to self-improvement. It's not about lowering our standards, it's about setting realistic expectations and finding peace in the process. Take the story of Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king who ruled the Roman Empire. Despite his immense power, he often reflected on his own shortcomings in his private writings. He didn't dwell on them with frustration, but used them as opportunities to grow. By acknowledging his imperfections, he became a more compassionate leader and a wiser individual. So, how can we apply this in our own lives? Start by asking yourself, how can I be kinder to myself? When you make a mistake, pause and remind yourself that it's part of the journey. Reflect on what you can learn from it rather than what you did wrong. Over time, this practice builds resilience and a deeper sense of self-compassion. Remember, imperfection isn't the enemy, it's the very thing that makes growth possible. Change is the only constant in life. This timeless observation, often attributed to the Stoic philosopher Heraclitus, captures a truth we all face: life is unpredictable. The Stoics understood this deeply, and they cultivated adaptability as a cornerstone of resilience. Seneca, in his letters, frequently emphasized the importance of staying flexible in the face of life's uncertainties. He argued that rigidity leads to suffering, while adaptability allows us to flow with circumstances rather than resist them. Think about it. How often do we cling to plans, outcomes, or expectations, only to feel frustrated when things don't go our way? The Stoic approach invites us to shift our mindset. Instead of viewing change as a threat, we can see it as an opportunity to grow. Adaptability isn't about giving up control, it's about finding strength in our ability to adjust. Consider the example of Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher. Throughout his reign, he faced wars, plagues, and constant political turmoil. Yet his ability to adapt to these challenges allowed him to lead with wisdom and compassion. He didn't waste energy resisting what he couldn't change. Instead, he focused on how he could respond effectively. This habit of adaptability isn't just for ancient philosophers, it's for us too. When we encounter unexpected setbacks, whether it's a career shift, a personal loss, or a global crisis, adaptability helps us navigate with clarity and calm. It's about asking ourselves, how can I adapt to this situation, rather than why is this happening to me? Take a moment to reflect, where in your life could greater adaptability make a difference? Whether it's a small daily inconvenience or a major life transition, embracing change as a Stoic practice can transform how you experience the world around you. In a world filled with constant noise and endless distractions, Marcus Aurelius once wrote about the profound power of silence. He believed that in the quiet spaces, we find the clarity to reflect, to observe, and to truly understand ourselves. This Stoic habit of practicing silence isn't about isolating yourself from the world. It's about creating moments of stillness amidst the chaos to reconnect with your inner voice. Think about it. When was the last time you allowed yourself to sit in complete silence, free from the buzz of notifications, the chatter of conversations, or the hum of daily life? These moments of quiet are where self-awareness takes root, where you can sift through your thoughts and emotions without external interference. Modern life often feels like a race against time, with every second filled by some form of stimulation or obligation. But silence offers a counterbalance. It's a space where you can step back, breathe, and ask yourself meaningful questions. Imagine a busy professional who decided to dedicate just 10 minutes each morning to silence. At first, it felt uncomfortable, almost unnatural, but over time, they began to notice patterns in their thoughts, uncovering insights about their priorities, fears, and aspirations. That small daily habit became a source of grounding and direction, helping them navigate challenges with greater calm and purpose. So, how can you incorporate this practice into your own life? Start small. Find a quiet moment, whether it's early in the morning, during a walk, or before bed, and simply sit with your thoughts. Ask yourself, what can I learn in this moment of quiet? You might be surprised by what surfaces. Silence isn't just the absence of noise. It's an opportunity to listen to yourself deeply, to uncover truths that are often drowned out by the noise of daily life. Embrace it, and you'll find that clarity and self-awareness are closer than you think. Bravery is being the only one who knows you're afraid, said Franklin P. Jones. This idea of courage, of facing fear head-on, is at the heart of Stoic philosophy. For the Stoics, courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the ability to act despite it. Epictetus once wrote, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." In other words, courage isn't about controlling external circumstances, it's about mastering your response to them. Think about it, life is full of uncertainty, from the smallest daily decisions to the biggest life changes. Courage is what allows us to step into that unknown, to take risks even when the outcome is unclear. It's not about being fearless, but about recognizing fear and deciding to move forward anyway. Take the story of Harriet Tubman, for example. She risked her lifetime and again to lead enslaved people to freedom through the Underground Railroad. She was afraid, but her courage, her willingness to act despite that fear, changed countless lives. So let's bring this closer to home. What's one thing you're afraid to do? Maybe it's starting a new project, having a difficult conversation, or stepping outside your comfort zone. The Stoic approach isn't to erase that fear, but to acknowledge it and choose to act anyway. Courage is a habit, a muscle that grows stronger with use. Every time you face your fear, no matter how small the step, you're building that resilience. And remember, as the Stoics taught, courage isn't about the outcome, it's about the action itself. So, what's one brave step you can take today? Seneca once wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more who is poor." This simple yet profound idea lies at the heart of Stoic frugality, a habit that isn't about deprivation, but about liberation. By choosing to live with less, we free ourselves from the endless chase for more, a chase that often leaves us feeling emptier than before. Frugality, in the Stoic sense, is about finding contentment in what we already have rather than being enslaved by what we don't. In today's world, where consumerism is constantly whispering in our ears that we need the latest gadget, the trendiest clothes, or the fanciest car, Stoic frugality offers a counterbalance. It asks us to question how much of what we buy is truly necessary, how much of it is just noise, filling a void that can't be filled with material things. When we reduce our dependence on possessions, we create space for what truly matters: our time, our relationships, and our inner peace. Take the example of someone like Henry David Thoreau, who famously chose to live simply in a small cabin by Walden Pond. Thoreau didn't just survive without modern comforts, he thrived. He found joy in the quiet moments, walking through nature, reading and reflecting. His life wasn't defined by what he owned, but by how he chose to live. So, what about you? What do you truly need to feel fulfilled? Is it the latest smartphone, or is it the ability to disconnect and enjoy a quiet evening with loved ones? By practicing frugality, we don't just save money, we gain freedom. Freedom from the stress of keeping up, freedom from the clutter of unnecessary things, and ultimately, freedom to focus on what enriches our lives in meaningful ways. Marcus Aurelius, one of history's most revered Stoic thinkers, once wrote, "The mind adapts and converts to its own purposes the obstacle to our acting. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This timeless idea reminds us that perseverance isn't just about enduring difficulties, it's about transforming them into opportunities for growth. Stoicism teaches us that life will inevitably throw obstacles in our path, but it's our ability to persist through them that defines our success. Perseverance is more than just stubbornness or blind determination. It's a disciplined habit of staying committed to your goals, even when the odds seem stacked against you. It's about recognizing that setbacks aren't failures but stepping stones. When we cultivate this mindset, we build resilience, the kind of inner strength that allows us to face challenges head-on without being overwhelmed. Think about modern struggles like burnout or the pressure to keep up in a fast-paced world. Stoic perseverance offers a way to navigate these challenges by focusing on what we can control and letting go of what we can't. Take the story of someone like Thomas Edison, who famously failed thousands of times before inventing the light bulb. Each failure wasn't evidence of defeat but a lesson learned. Edison once said, "I have not failed, I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." His perseverance transformed a series of setbacks into one of the most impactful innovations in history. This is the power of persistence. It turns obstacles into progress and failure into wisdom. So, how can you apply this Stoic habit in your own life? Start by asking yourself, how can I keep going despite the obstacles? When you face a challenge, break it down into smaller, manageable steps. Focus on what you can do today, even if the bigger picture feels overwhelming. Remind yourself that every step forward, no matter how small, is a victory. And when you feel like giving up, remember the words of Marcus Aurelius, "What stands in the way becomes the way." Perseverance isn't just about reaching the finish line, it's about how you grow and strengthen along the journey. Truth is the glue that holds relationships together. Without it, trust crumbles. This simple yet profound idea lies at the heart of Stoic philosophy. For the Stoics, honesty wasn't just a moral virtue, it was a cornerstone of living a meaningful life. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic teachers, often emphasized the importance of transparency, stating, "If you wish to be trusted, be trustworthy." At its core, this means aligning your words with your actions and embracing honesty as a daily practice. Transparency builds trust, not just with others but within yourself. When you're truthful, you eliminate the mental burden of deceit. You no longer have to remember lies or manage hidden agendas. Instead, you foster an environment of clarity and authenticity. This self-respect is invaluable. Think about it. Every time you choose honesty, you're reaffirming your commitment to integrity. Over time, this habit strengthens your character and deepens your relationships. Take, for example, a manager who admits a mistake to their team. Instead of losing respect, they gain admiration for their candor. By being transparent, they create a culture of trust and collaboration. This isn't just about admitting faults, it's about showing up as your true self, unafraid of vulnerability. The Stoics believed this kind of openness was essential for building genuine connections. Reflecting on this, ask yourself, how can I be more truthful today? Maybe it's being honest about your feelings in a difficult conversation, or simply owning up to a small oversight. Every act of transparency, no matter how small, is a step toward a more authentic life. As you practice this habit, you'll find that honesty isn't just a virtue, it's a path to freedom and deeper connection. The present moment is all we truly have. It's where life happens, where we can find clarity and peace. These words, often echoed in Stoic philosophy, remind us of the profound importance of living in the now. It's easy to get caught up in regrets about the past or worries about the future, but the Stoics teach us that neither is within our control. What we do have power over is how we choose to engage with this very moment. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic thinkers, wrote extensively about the value of focusing on the present. He believed that by anchoring ourselves in the here and now, we could free ourselves from unnecessary suffering and discover a deeper sense of joy. When we dwell on the past, we often replay mistakes or missed opportunities, which can lead to feelings of guilt or frustration. Similarly, worrying about the future can create anxiety about things that may never even happen. But the present moment, it's neutral, open, and full of potential. By directing our attention to what's right in front of us, we can reduce the mental clutter that so often weighs us down. Think about it. When was the last time you truly focused on what you were doing without getting lost in your thoughts? Maybe it was while savoring a meal, listening to a favorite song, or simply feeling the warmth of the sun on your face. In those moments, anxiety fades and joy naturally arises. Let's take a practical example. Imagine someone who's been struggling with stress at work. They're constantly thinking about deadlines, worrying about what their boss might say, or replaying past mistakes. One day, they decide to try a Stoic approach. They start by focusing solely on the task at hand, fully immersing themselves in the process rather than the outcome. They notice the details, the rhythm of their work, and the satisfaction of making progress. Over time, they begin to feel less overwhelmed. By staying present, they've not only reduced their stress but also found a sense of calm and fulfillment in their daily tasks. So, how can you apply this to your own life? Start by asking yourself, how can I fully experience this moment? It could be as simple as taking a deep breath, observing your surroundings, or giving your full attention to the person in front of you. The more you practice this habit, the more you'll find that life becomes richer, more meaningful, and far less burdened by what's outside your control. The power of now isn't just a concept, it's a way of living that can transform how you navigate the challenges and joys of life. One of the most enduring principles of Stoicism is the practice of moderation. Seneca, the Roman philosopher, often reflected on the dangers of excess and the virtues of restraint. He believed that true freedom comes not from indulging in every desire but from mastering our impulses. Excess, whether in food, drink, or even our use of technology, can lead to imbalance, stress, and a sense of being controlled by our cravings. Moderation, on the other hand, fosters health, clarity, and harmony in both body and mind. Think about the last time you felt overwhelmed by something you couldn't stop doing, whether it was scrolling through your phone or overindulging in something you knew wasn't good for you. That's where moderation steps in as a tool for reclaiming control. Take, for example, someone who felt constantly drained by their screen time. By intentionally setting limits, perhaps an hour less on social media each day, they found themselves more present, focused, and at peace. Moderation doesn't mean deprivation, it's about finding equilibrium. So, where in your life could you practice a little more balance today? Is there an area where stepping back could help you step forward? Epictetus once said, "He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has." This simple yet profound truth lies at the heart of Stoic contentment. In a world that constantly pushes us to want more success, more possessions, more recognition, cultivating contentment becomes an act of rebellion. It's not about settling for less, but about finding joy in what you already have. The Stoics believed that true happiness isn't found in external achievements or material wealth, but in our ability to appreciate the present moment and the blessings already within our grasp. Epictetus reminds us that our desires often outpace our needs, creating a cycle of dissatisfaction. When we focus on what we lack, we invite frustration and anxiety into our lives. But when we shift our perspective to gratitude, we break free from that cycle. Contentment doesn't mean we stop striving for growth or improvement. Instead, it means we find peace in the journey, knowing that our worth isn't tied to what we accumulate. Consider the story of a man who, after years of chasing promotions and wealth, found himself exhausted and unfulfilled. It wasn't until he paused to reflect on the simple joys of his life, his health, his family, the beauty of nature, that he discovered a deeper sense of happiness. This is the power of contentment. It's not about denying ambition, but about balancing it with gratitude. So, here's a question to reflect on. What's one thing you're content with today? It could be as simple as a warm cup of coffee in the morning, a supportive friend, or the feeling of accomplishment after a productive day. By practicing this habit of contentment, we train ourselves to find joy in the ordinary, and in doing so, we open the door to a more fulfilling and peaceful life. Ever felt weighed down by the things you cling to, your possessions, your achievements, or even your expectations of how life should be? Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. This idea of detachment isn't about giving up what you care about. It's about freeing yourself from the emotional chains that tie you to outcomes beyond your control. Think about it. How often do we suffer not because of what happens, but because of how tightly we hold onto what we think should happen? Detachment is a practice, not a one-time decision. It's about loosening your grip on the things that don't truly define you: your job title, the number of likes on a post, or even the perfect image of how your life should look. When you let go of these attachments, you create space for peace. Instead of being tossed around by external circumstances, you anchor yourself in what you can control: your mindset, your values, your actions. This isn't indifference, it's a deeper kind of engagement with life, where you're no longer a prisoner to what you can't change. Take the example of someone who lost their job unexpectedly. At first, they might feel devastated, tied to the identity that job gave them. But through practicing detachment, they begin to see that their worth isn't tied to a title or a paycheck. They find freedom in focusing on what they can do next, whether it's starting a new venture, learning a new skill, or simply spending time with loved ones. The job was never the source of their happiness. It was their ability to adapt, to let go, and to move forward. So, what's something you're holding onto too tightly today? Is it a grudge, a material possession, or even an idea of how life should be? Ask yourself, what can I release to find more peace? Remember, detachment isn't about losing something, it's about gaining the freedom to live more fully, more authentically, and more at peace with whatever life brings your way. Clarity is the first essential step toward wisdom, Seneca once wrote, and those words couldn't ring truer in the chaos of modern life. Think about it. How often do we find ourselves overwhelmed, not by the tasks at hand, but by the fog of uncertainty in our own minds? Clarity, as a Stoic habit, is about cutting through that fog. It's about seeing what truly matters and aligning our actions with our priorities. When we cultivate clarity, we strip away distractions and focus on what's essential, making decisions with purpose rather than reacting out of confusion or emotion. Seneca's letters often emphasize the importance of mental clarity. He believed that a cluttered mind leads to poor judgment, while a clear mind allows us to navigate life's challenges with wisdom and calm. For example, he wrote about the need to regularly examine our thoughts and intentions, asking ourselves, what am I truly pursuing? Is this worth my time and energy? This practice helps us avoid being swept away by external demands or internal noise. Imagine someone juggling multiple projects at work, feeling pulled in every direction. They're constantly busy but not truly productive. By applying Stoic clarity, they pause and ask, what's my true priority right now? Suddenly, they see that finishing one key task will have the greatest impact. They let go of the rest, focusing their energy where it matters most. This shift doesn't just reduce stress, it creates a sense of direction and control. So, how can you bring this habit into your own life? Start by setting aside a few minutes each day to reflect. Ask yourself, what's most important to me today? What's distracting me from it? Write down your answers. This simple act of reflection can help you see your priorities more clearly. Remember, clarity isn't about having all the answers, it's about knowing which questions to ask. When you focus on what truly matters, you'll find that life becomes not just easier but more meaningful. Epictetus once said, "What belongs to you if not to take care of it and to use it well?" This simple yet profound question invites us to consider how we treat others not as strangers, but as fellow humans deserving of care. At its core, Stoicism teaches us that compassion isn't just a moral ideal. It's a practical habit that strengthens our connections with the world around us. Kindness, as Epictetus emphasized, is a choice we make every day, a way to align our actions with the belief that we're all part of a shared human experience. Compassion, in the Stoic sense, isn't about feeling sorry for someone, it's about understanding. It's the ability to step into another person's shoes, to see the world through their eyes, even when their perspective differs from our own. This habit of empathy doesn't just soften our hearts, it reduces conflict and builds bridges where division might otherwise take root. In a world that often feels polarized, compassion becomes a quiet but powerful tool for fostering unity. Think of the countless moments in history where one act of kindness changed everything. Take, for instance, the story of Nelson Mandela, who, after decades of imprisonment, chose to lead with forgiveness rather than vengeance. His compassion didn't just heal his own wounds, it helped mend an entire nation. While most of us won't face challenges of that scale, we all have the capacity to make a difference in our own circles, whether it's offering a listening ear to a friend, extending patience to a colleague, or simply holding the door for a stranger. So here's a question to reflect on: who can you show kindness to today? It doesn't have to be grand or dramatic. Sometimes the smallest gestures carry the most weight. Compassion, after all, is a practice, a habit we cultivate one moment, one interaction at a time. By choosing kindness, we not only enrich the lives of others, but also strengthen our own sense of purpose and connection. And in doing so, we embody the Stoic ideal of living in harmony with both ourselves and the world. Change is the only constant in life. These words from Heraclitus remind us that life is inherently fluid, and resisting it only leads to unnecessary struggle. As Stoics, we're taught to accept change not as an enemy, but as an inevitable force that shapes our journey. Think about it. How often do we cling to what's familiar, even when it no longer serves us? That resistance creates tension, but acceptance, that's where peace begins. Marcus Aurelius, one of history's most renowned Stoic thinkers, often reflected on the nature of change. He wrote, "What stands in the way becomes the way." For him, change wasn't something to fear, but an opportunity to grow. When we stop fighting the tides of life, we open ourselves to adaptability and resilience. It's not about passively surrendering, it's about actively choosing to flow with life's currents. Take the example of someone who loses a job unexpectedly. At first, it might feel like a devastating blow, but by embracing the change, viewing it as a chance to explore new opportunities, learn new skills, or even pivot to a different career, they can transform what seems like a setback into a stepping stone. This mindset doesn't eliminate challenges, but it makes them easier to navigate. So, how can you embrace change in your own life? Start by asking yourself, what's within my control? Often, the fear of change comes from focusing on what we can't control. Instead, shift your attention to how you can respond. Maybe it's seeking out new experiences, letting go of outdated routines, or simply reminding yourself that change is a natural part of growth. When you stop resisting and start accepting, you'll find a deeper sense of peace and a clearer path forward. Seneca once wrote, "Each man is the architect of his own fortune." These words cut to the heart of accountability, a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy. It's not about pointing fingers or placing blame elsewhere. It's about owning your actions, your choices, and your life. Accountability is more than just a habit. It's a mindset shift that empowers you to grow, learn, and become more resilient. When you stop deflecting responsibility and start embracing it, you open the door to real self-improvement. Think about it. How often do we blame circumstances, other people, or even luck for where we find ourselves? It's tempting to shift the narrative, to make ourselves the victim of external forces. But Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control, and the first step is taking ownership of our own role in every situation. Accountability isn't about self-criticism or guilt, it's about clarity. It's about understanding that while we can't control everything that happens to us, we can control how we respond. Consider the story of Marcus, a young entrepreneur who struggled with failure. When his first business venture collapsed, he blamed the market, his team, even his competitors. But when he finally took a hard look in the mirror and admitted to his own mistakes, poor planning, lack of communication, he didn't just find clarity, he found a path forward. That accountability became the foundation for his next, more successful venture. It wasn't just about rebuilding his business, it was about rebuilding himself. In a world where blame shifting is all too common, accountability sets you apart. It builds trust with others, but more importantly, with yourself. When you commit to owning your actions, you become someone others can rely on, and you strengthen your integrity in the process. So here's a question to reflect on. What's one thing you can take responsibility for today? It doesn't have to be monumental. Even small steps toward accountability can lead to profound changes. An untrained mind is a ship without a rudder. It drifts wherever the wind takes it. These words from Epictetus remind us that without purpose, life can feel aimless and unfulfilled. Purpose is not just a lofty ideal. It's a Stoic habit that anchors us, giving direction and meaning to our actions. Epictetus taught that our true power lies in aligning our choices with something greater than ourselves, something that transcends fleeting desires or external pressures. This alignment is what allows us to navigate life's challenges with clarity and resilience. Think of it this way: purpose is like a compass in a storm. When everything around us feels chaotic or uncertain, it helps us stay focused on what truly matters. For the Stoics, fulfillment wasn't about chasing pleasure or avoiding pain. It was about living in harmony with our deepest values. And that begins by asking ourselves a simple but profound question. What's my deeper why? What is the guiding principle that drives my decisions and shapes my character? Consider the story of Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor who faced immense pressures and responsibilities. Despite the demands of his role, he found meaning in the idea of serving others and living virtuously. His writings in Meditations reveal a man constantly reflecting on his purpose, using it as a source of strength during times of hardship. His example shows us that purpose isn't something we stumble upon by chance. It's something we cultivate through introspection and deliberate action. So how can you start cultivating this habit? Begin by reflecting on what truly matters to you. Is it contributing to your community, pursuing a creative passion? Or perhaps nurturing meaningful relationships? Once you've identified your why, let it guide your daily choices. Purpose isn't just a destination, it's the path itself. It's the reason we get up in the morning, face challenges head-on, and find joy in the journey, even when the road is tough. What's your deeper why? What purpose will you choose to anchor your life? In the midst of life's chaos, Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself of the profound power of stillness. He saw quiet moments not as idle pauses, but as essential opportunities to reconnect with the self. In those moments of stillness, he found clarity, a chance to step back from the noise and observe his thoughts without judgment. It's a practice that seems simple, yet in our modern world, where busyness is often worn as a badge of honor, it can feel radical. Think about the last time you sat in complete silence, without distractions, without the pull of your phone or the demands of your schedule. For many, it's a rare experience. Yet, it's in these pauses that we often uncover the most profound insights. Picture this: a CEO, overwhelmed by the weight of decisions, chooses to spend 10 minutes in quiet reflection each morning. Over time, those moments of stillness become a source of clarity, helping them navigate challenges with greater focus and purpose. Stillness isn't about doing nothing. It's about creating space to listen to your thoughts, your emotions, and your inner wisdom. It's a practice that invites self-awareness, helping you see what truly matters and what can be let go. In a world that constantly demands our attention, stillness becomes an act of resistance, a way to reclaim control over our minds and our time. So, as you go about your day, ask yourself, what could I discover in this moment of quiet? What might stillness reveal to me if I simply allow myself to pause? It's in these small, intentional moments that we often find the answers we've been searching for. Stoicism teaches us that adversity is not just a test but a teacher. As the philosopher Seneca once wrote, difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body. What if, instead of resisting challenges, we learn to appreciate them? Gratitude for hardships might sound counterintuitive, but it's a cornerstone of Stoic wisdom. Every obstacle, every setback offers an opportunity to grow stronger, wiser, and more resilient. Think of it like a blacksmith shaping metal. The fire and hammer may seem harsh, but they're what transform raw material into something unbreakable. Consider the story of Thomas Edison, who faced thousands of failed experiments before inventing the light bulb. He famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." His perspective wasn't just optimism, it was a Stoic mindset. He saw each failure as a lesson, not a defeat. In his letters, Seneca often reminds us that hardships are not punishments but tools for building character. They teach us patience, humility, and the ability to adapt. So, when you're faced with a challenge, ask yourself, what can this teach me? Instead of asking why it's happening to you, consider how it's happening for you. Gratitude isn't about ignoring the difficulty, it's about recognizing the hidden value within it. By shifting your perspective, you transform struggles into stepping stones and adversity into advantage. Stoicism offers us not just a philosophy but a practical toolkit for navigating life's toughest challenges. These 50 habits we've explored aren't just abstract ideas. They're timeless, actionable practices that can transform the way we approach adversity, uncertainty, and even success. From embracing what we can't control to focusing on our own character and choices, Stoicism reminds us that our strength lies in how we respond to the world, not in how the world treats us. These habits are as relevant today as they were in ancient times because they speak to the universal struggles we all face as human beings. Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you but how you react to it that matters." This is the essence of Stoicism. Our power lies in our ability to choose our response. Every challenge, every setback, every moment of doubt is an opportunity to practice these habits and build resilience. Whether it's starting your day with gratitude, practicing mindfulness in moments of stress, or reflecting on your actions each night, these practices can help you take control of your life in meaningful ways. So, which habit will you start practicing today? Will you choose to focus on what's within your control, or will you embrace discomfort as a path to growth? The journey begins with a single step, and every small change can lead to a lifetime of greater peace and purpose. Share your thoughts in the comments. What habit resonates with you most? And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe for more Stoic wisdom to guide you on your path. Remember, the power to shape your life is always in your hands. Let's take that first step together.